Hello again, this is Ben, and I'm going to teach you how to program. Today I'm going to talk about variables and types. So here we've got our first program that we wrote in the last video. It consists of the HTML code around the JavaScript code. And again, we're just going to be writing our code in between the script tags. So last time, we started with just this alert function, and I told you a little bit about this string hello world. So in JavaScript and in programming languages, you have a bunch of different types. Some of the basic types is a string of text, like hello world. Other types include a number, which is obviously, 1, 2, 100, whatever. And other things like booleans, which is a true or false value. It's either true or false, and that's important later. And other types like arrays and objects, which are a little bit more advanced, and I'll talk about them later. So one of the most important things about programming is called a variable. And in JavaScript, you can create a variable using the var keyword. There are a couple other keywords that you can use instead of var, but we'll stick with this one for now. So var keyword followed by a name. And variable names have to start with a letter and can only contain letters, underscores, and numbers. Create the variable like so. Put one equal sign. One equal sign by itself is called an assignment operator, which will assign anything on the right side of the equal sign and put it into the variable name on the left side. So a variable is like, think of it like a box that you're putting an object into. In this case, our box is labeled variable name 1. And inside it, we're going to put a number, 2, followed by a semicolon to end the line. So 2 is a number type. It does not have quotation marks around it, so it's going to act like a number. And numbers, you can do arithmetic operations on the numbers and get results, and that's useful. So you can have your variable name and then use it later. Let's try creating another one. Variable name 2 equals 5. So now we have two variable names, variable 1 and variable 2, and each one has a value that we assign to it. And then we can come down here and create another variable called result and assign it to the result of an operation. The operation would look like this, 2 plus 5. But we'll use the values in our variables. And 1 plus variable name 2. So this will, when it's running, be replaced by 2, because that's what we assign the name of. We assign the value 2 to the variable name 1, and same with 5. Then we can go down to our alert, and instead of having a string of text, we can just put the name of our variable. So we get the result of variable 1 plus variable 2 and put that in the result, and then we're going to alert the result. So let's save, file, save, and we can open the file up again. We'll use Edge, and there we go. Site says 7, because that's 5 plus 7. Okay, go back to our code. So like I said, we have a lot of different object types. And so far, these have just been numbers, because we're assigning numbers to them. And numbers, you can use a plus or a minus, or you can use a star for multiplies and a / for divide to perform operations on the numbers. Now, we don't have to just use numbers. Let's create another variable called string1 and assign that to a string. This is a string of text. So now, everything inside the 2 quotation marks are going to be considered a string of text. And we've put this string of text into this variable called string1. Now we can go back to alert, change result into string1. We will file save, go back to Edge, and click the refresh button, refresh. Now the alert box says this is a string of text, which is what we told it to print. Now, things are going to get a little interesting here because some operators, like the plus sign, are used for several different things. When you have a plus sign and you're adding 2 numbers together, it'll act like a mathematical plus. But when you add 2 strings together, this is a concatenation operator, which just sticks these 2 strings together. So let's see how that works. Change this to string3, which will be the result of string1 plus string2, and file save and refresh. So here we have, this is a string of text, another string of text. So it just stuck them together. Now, things get a little bit crazier because if you try to add a string of text, string1, and we're going to add our number up here, variable name 1. Now, you can't add a string and a variable, or a string and a number. So what happens is the number actually turns into a string and the whole thing is concatenated together. So let's see how that works. File, save, go and refresh. And as you can see, this is a string of text with 2 just stuck together. So anytime you add a number to a string, it becomes a string. So this is important later. And JavaScript is what is called a dynamically or loosely typed language, which means that any variable, since we're just defining it with this var keyword, you can put any kind of value into a variable, it doesn't matter, and the language itself will try to figure out what the different variables, what types they are, and do the appropriate thing, which later on can get a little confusing and cause us a lot of problems. But for now, let's just try to remember to not do anything too crazy. So let's see, I'll delete all of this stuff. Another important thing about a variable is that it can be reused. So variable 1 is 2. Variable var2 equals 3. Var result equals var1 plus var2. So the result is going to be right here is going to be 5. 2 plus 3 is 5. All right. So then we can go down here and later on we can do result equals var1 plus 4. So here we're adding together a variable which has this value of 2 plus another number that's not inside of a variable. So this will give us 6, the result of this, and then we're assigning that value and putting it into result. Now, make sure to notice that we're not redefining the result variable with by putting another var keyword there. This is not right because we're just reusing the variable and it's replacing the value that we put in here and just putting this on top of it. So let's see. We'll change alert to result and we'll save. So what's happening here? We're defining two variables, var1 and var2, and giving them the values of 2 and 3. Then we're creating a new variable called result, and we're adding var1 and var2 together, which is 5, and putting that value into this new variable result. Then down here, we're taking var1, which is actually 2, adding it to 4. So that's 6, because this is not a variable, this is just a number. So var1 plus 4 is 6. We're taking that value, storing it in result. So then alert result, this ought to return 6. So we'll refresh, and there we go, 6. And that is how variables work. So you can have as many variables as you want and put anything you want in the variables. Doesn't matter. Oh, that brings up an interesting thought. What happens if we put a number inside quotation marks? Well, this becomes a string of text. It's not treated as a number. So then if we add num2, which is a number, plus num3, which is a string, what'll actually happen is JavaScript will interpret this as a number, 15. It'll change this string into a number and add it to 15. So let's see if that's right. File, save, refresh. Oh, no, that's wrong. So what actually happened with what was supposed to happen is that because one of them is a string and not a number, it will just assume that the first one, num2, is actually a string and then concatenate them together like we saw previously. So that's why it becomes 15, 15, 115. But it's really hard to tell what may result if you start combining different types, which can get a little bit confusing. So that's how variables work. Variables are really important for storing data and doing things on that data. And we can see some of that next time. Okay. Congratulations. I'll see you next time.